think we are all in agreement that in 2023, news, media, and journalism is now just a bunch of attractive blonde people wearing skimpy outfits by the day who give us their opinions and pass them along to us as facts because apparently we are too stupid to do any research for ourselves, and the mainstream media is just telling us what to think and we're going along with it like the sheeple that they think we have become. A survey done by Pew Research last year in 2022 came to the conclusion that over half of journalists say that every side does not always deserve equal coverage, while the average United States adult citizen, 76%, say that, yeah, we should talk about both sides, even the good and the bad. And I have to say, statistics, you can corrupt the numbers to say whatever you want them. But I think that today, more than ever, it is apparent that the American people are sick of being lied to. And we're tired of having to catch journalists twisting the truth or blatantly trying to cover up things because they don't fit the narrative. When it comes to all of these media TV shows like Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, the people who have the money will ultimately make the decisions. And if they say that covering a specific story will pose a certain narrative to the people or might paint a certain group of people in the reality light that they in fact are in, they will automatically veto that simply because they don't want that side to be heard. You know what we call that? Oppression of news. Let's do something that no one ever does in 2023. Defined our terms. So, the 1995 Merriam-Webster definition of journalism is a collection and editing of news for presentation through the media, the public press, an academic study concerned with the collection and editing of news or the management of a news media. Writing characterized by a direct presentation of facts or description of events without an attempt at interpretation. I don't know about y'all, but that does not sound like anything that Fox News or CNN or anybody does today at all. The 2023 version is just a little bit different, and it is journalism, the collection, the preparation, and the distribution of news and related commentary and feature materials through such as print and electronic media. I hate to break it to Botanica, but commentary is not journalism. That's a podcast. That's an opinion YouTube channel. That is your opinion of the facts being interpreted through your morals and your worldview. That's not giving us the facts and letting the people decide for themselves. That's telling us what to think through telling us what you think is to be the truth. But Savannah, aren't you doing that right now? Well, yeah, this is a commentary YouTube channel, but I will give all of the evidence and facts, but you're definitely gonna know what I think about the entire situation, and I'm not gonna shy away from the fact that I'm gonna call out the BS on both sides of the aisle. But I will say there used to be this mantra that all journalists used to live by once upon a time, and that was leave your opinions at the door. I gotta say, I know exactly what Don Lemon thinks about this whole election, and I know exactly what all the Fox News blondes think about anything going on in our world. But should I even know what their political affiliations are, even what their religious beliefs are? You're a journalist. Your job is to tell us the who, the what, the where, the when, the why, and the how, if you know it. But if you don't, keep your mouth shut. And don't spread lies. We've seen that happen time and time again. They don't know a part of the story, so what do? They make it up. And when they get caught, they turn tail and run, or they cover it with something else. But oh no, don't take my word for it. Take Mika Brzezinski's.
The dangerous, edges here are that he's trying to undermine the media, trying to make up his own facts, and it could be that while unemployment and the economy worsens, he could have undermined the messaging so much that he can actually control exactly what people think, and that is our job. That is our job.
And please don't try to justify what she said. She wasn't joking. She was actually serious. And then you're going to sit there and be shocked when the people who you joked about this to don't trust you anymore. I hate to break it to Mika, but this Susan haircut, pink blonde looking woman is not the god of who decides what to think when it comes to the people in journalism. We actually don't need to listen to all of these attractive, good looking people in news and media. You guys are not the gatekeepers gatekeepers to the truth. In fact, when you guys usually say something is the truth, you've trained us to think that, maybe they're lying about this, because they usually do that in the past. Hey, look over here, look at all this shiny news media. Yeah, we're gonna look over here. You ever wonder why it doesn't matter if you're on MSNBC or Fox News? It's because they're all saying the same thing, but just with the new color blonde anchor of the week.
Hi, I'm Fox San Antonio's Jessica Headley.
And I'm Ryan Wolf.
Our greatest responsibility is to serve our Treasure Valley communities,
the El Paso, Las Cruces communities,
Eastern Iowa communities,
Mid-Michigan communities.
We are extremely proud of the quality, balanced journalism that CBS 4 News produces.
But we are concerned about troubling irresponsible, one-sided news stories plaguing our country.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and
false news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish these stories simply aren't true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
Have you been paying attention to unbiased media online in the past weekend or so? You will probably have seen a story about a man named Andreas Probst, who was a 64-year-old retired California police chief who was supposedly killed in a bike crash. But it turned out that he was actually murdered because two felon kids stole a car, purposefully crashed into him, and then ran. So this whole story happened over a month ago, but it's only now just coming to light about 2 days ago. And trigger warning, the video that you're about to see is vulgar profanity, and this man did in fact die. So if you want to skip ahead, we completely understand.
How you go? Go. Keep it moving. Bitch ass nigga! Stop talking shit, bitch!
So you're purposely hitting other drivers on the road.
Fuck wrong with blood.
This reminds me of GTA.
Yeah. Hit his ass.
So in this video, you can see that the passenger is recording the whole ordeal. We think that this was live streamed on one of their social medias, but they point out the pedestrian, the bike rider, Andreas, and they say, go hit him. They in fact do hit him, crash into the back of his bike. The man, Andreas, flips over the vehicle and lands face first onto the curb and into the concrete. He was dead upon arrival of, if we understand this correctly, his wife and his daughter, whose Apple Watch actually alerted them to the fact that he had in fact crashed. Okay, so the original headline says, retired police chief killed in a bike crash. The same media industry changed it secretly in the dark of night to retired police chief killed in a hit and run remembered for laugh, love, and coffee. This is where the disingenuousness comes from. Instead of just simply creating a news story and saying that we got more information and here are the facts, they decide to lie and cover it up in the dark of night. Now, what do we do about these two young black men who decided that on this random day in August, they wanted to go commit literal murder because they were, for some reason, reenacting their GTA fantasies in reality? Honestly, I have no freaking idea what to do with these kids, but here's what I can tell you about them. These two young men probably have no father in their life. They probably have no discipline. They've probably been in and out of the system more times than I can count. I was just asked, what would I have the punishment be for these two young men? Would it be the death penalty? Would it be simply to go to court and let a jury of your peers decide your fate? I don't know. But all I can say is to be a judge or a juror in 2023 after what we watched happen in 2020 is probably one of the most dangerous things to do. You make a decision that this country and that the mob disagrees with, you have riots outside your house. You have people making piñatas of you and lighting them on fire and beating them to a pulp. To make a morality decision these days and to have the left-wing media and the mob decide that they don't like you anymore, that's a pretty dangerous game to play. And honestly, I don't blame people from wanting to shy away from this because their families, their friends, their lives literally are put on the line in these cases. But I would also say to that, what country do we have if we no longer seek out justice? We can't turn a blind eye to violent crime simply because we're scared of what's going to happen to us if we decide to make the morality decision at the end of the day. But quite frankly, I don't know what these two boys deserve, but all I do know is that they took an innocent life and they deserve to be punished to the highest extent of the law. But I would say, have it be inside the law, because what we saw in 2020, mob rule will only ruin our country faster. I'm not trying to divide us any more than what we already are right now, but it seems like in media today, if they don't mention the race of the perpetrator or the criminal or the suspect, they're probably black. But you will always be able to know within the first sentence if the criminal was in fact a white dude. And you know a story? I had never even heard of this until we were doing all this pre-show prep, but there was a white dude named Tony Timpa, exact same situation as George Floyd, suffocating, yelling for help, and the cops were sitting around him literally joking, oh, is he dead? Is he not breathing anymore? Did he just die on the ground? As they abandoned him and left him there face down in dirt for 20 minutes straight. But do you see any media outrage or public outcry about any of this? No, because it was simply a schizophrenic white dude and not a large burly black man that they could use to push their BLM narrative because it was an election year. Here's another example of the media as a whole, left and right, all deciding collectively that they are going to suppress different stories that go against their narrative. I didn't even know about this until this week when we started doing research. Did you know that a 5-year-old named Hinett was shot point blank range in the face for riding his bike and playing with his siblings by a 28-year-old black man who was annoyed that these children were playing too loudly on their own property? But did you hear about it? Oh no, because we were too busy freaking out about George Floyd that we didn't even care to cover the fact that a 5-year-old was murdered at his home because a man was annoyed about the sounds of children. But here's another school shooting that happened back in 2021 that no one seemed to know about. And that's suspicious because a school shooting, I mean, that is just media and journalism, chef's kiss right there. The second that happens, you know that they're going to be talking about that for at least 2 weeks straight. So in this case, a 17-year-old kid decided that he wanted to go to his school and go do whatever it is that school shooters have mentally ill inside their brains. And he ended up harming 2 students and 1 teacher that were injured in Arlington, Texas. Local Arlington media covered this for about, a few days and then passed it on. But did we hear anything about it on Fox, CBS, MSNBC, anything else like you would any other shooting? Absolutely not, because the 17-year-old kid that decided to take a gun to his school just so happened to be a black kid. What would happen if a white dude decided that he wanted to go hit and kill someone politically motivated and the victim was a black person? You would have media outrage that would cover probably a whole year, and we would have multi-billion dollars worth of damage from riots that would happen as a result. Well, here's a story about an 18-year-old white boy who was killed because he was run over with an SUV because this absolutely evil person named Shannon Brandt decided that because the kid was a Republican extremist, he deserved to be hit by an SUV and killed. What is this country coming to? Do we have any kind of justice system whatsoever, where the punishment in fact fits the crime. All I'm gonna say is, if we punish people the way that they deserve to be punished for literal murder in some of the most gruesome, awful ways possible, maybe, just maybe, people wouldn't do it anymore. But we live in 2023, and it seems like nobody cares about the sanctity of life, and nobody has remorse when they take it either, especially in some of the most evil and painful ways possible to literal children. In one case, a 5-year-old boy, and in this case, an 18-year-old kid who simply had the bravery to say his political opinions, and that caused his death. But did the media cover this at all? Did they cover any of this? No. I mean, they did a little bit. The local media, that is. They sprinkled in a news headline, just one here and there. And they talked about it for, 48 hours, gave their condolences, and then went on to the next tragedy that fit their narrative better. This is not journalism. This is corruption. This is conspiracy. This is you guys trying to corrupt the average American into believing what you believe simply because you're giving us the opinions, and we are too stupid to look beyond your dumb headlines, which, by the way, are most always skewed towards whatever the news media wants you to believe. Remember, if the race isn't mentioned, it's probably a black person, but you'll know instantly if it was a white straight dude. And everybody, of course, knows about the Nashville school shooter, but it's not because this evil person did an evil thing. It's because the shooter was a trans person. And The View just has to talk about what did this Covenant school do to this young, poor trans person to force them to go to such lengths as to shoot up a school, instead of simply just talking about the fact that this is a very sick and mentally ill individual who decided out of their own volition to go do a heinous and awful act, like taking the lives of 6 innocent people, and then writing a manifesto about it. But then for some reason, we still don't have that. It's still not released. We still don't get to know what was in that document that may or may not go along with the media's narrative. This is so sick and awful. When it fits their narrative, we hear about it for weeks on end. But when it doesn't, it's either pushed completely to the side or it's twisted in their own sick fantasy to somehow fit what they want. I hate to break it to you guys out there, but sometimes sick and mentally ill individuals are just that. Sick and mentally ill individuals. I don't need to know their race or their gender. All I know inside my heart is that there is something unwell about that person's soul. Here's a list of a whole bunch of other things the media lied about, and then when they got caught, they simply just said nothing. Trayvon Martin. The media said he was killed by white supremacists. Turns out the dude was Hispanic. Michael Brown. Hands up, don't shoot. Didn't even happen. Bubba Wallace claims that they put a noose inside his garage. Turns out it was a small garage pulley. Jacob Blake shot in the back. But oh wait, it turns out he had a weapon and he was kidnapping children. Here's one that my brother will appreciate. The Ghost of Kiev. It turns out that all the footage was from a literal video game. And then when they got caught, they just simply let it go. Nicholas Sandmann standing on the steps as this Indian-looking dude bangs a drum in his face, deemed a white supremacist punk little kid. Turns out that he was simply just standing there and happily smiling as his picture was taken. Brian Sicknick claimed to have died on January 6th during those awful riots. Turns out that he died way later of natural causes. Jesse Smollett. Need I say more? By the way, Trump never told you guys to drink bleach. He was simply talking about a possible cure that you guys could take of your own free will and volition. And the media just simply added bleach.
Supposing we hit the body with a tremendous, whether it's ultraviolet or just very powerful light. And then I said, supposing you brought the light inside the body, which you can do either through the skin or, right. And then I see the disinfectant where it knocks it out in a minute, 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that by injection inside or almost a cleaning? Because you see it gets on the lungs and it...
The fiery but peaceful protests as they stand in front of literal buildings and car dealerships on fire, burning to the ground. The Don't Say Gay bill literally never even mentioned the word gay. You guys just made that up on your own because you apparently can't read bills. Russiagate, the DNC and Hillary Clinton were fined for fabricating the Steele Dossier. The media has been running with it for literal years and are still doing this to this day. It's not real! And listen, I could go on and on about this, but I have more important things to do with my time today. So you wonder why all this is happening? Well, there's something called Operation Mockingbird, where after the Cold War, the government decided that they would like to recruit and enlist the help of over 400 journalists to corrupt and change the public's opinion on what the government was actually doing, or in this case, not doing for its citizens' well-being. Project Mockingbird is in fact a very real thing, but allegedly they disbanded and they're no longer trying to corrupt the opinions of the public or change them to believe a certain narrative or to ignore another one, because the government would never do anything wrong, ever, and then lie about it. Yes, they're totally disbanded, and the proof of that is that the Twitter files came out where the government told social media what they should and should not talk about. And nothing says good, honest journalism like the White House sending a letter to media saying that we need to put harsher restrictions and scrutiny on what we are talking about, and when it involves the impeachment of the dude in the White House. Yeah, that is not a conflict of interest at all. So why do the media want to lie and manipulate us in the first place? Well, it's as simple as a house divided against itself cannot stand. And a government is able to get away with a lot more when their people are quarreling with each other instead of taking up arms against them, who is manipulating the situation to be in favor of them and not the people to which they promised and swore an oath to serve in the first place. When it comes to these racial wars and this race tension in the country, it's higher now than it has ever been. And I would honestly say it's not actually because collectively white people hate black people or black people hate white people. It's the manipulation of the media to make us think that we all don't like each other and we can't get along, therefore that we must be enemies with each other. But as a line from my new favorite Tom McDonald song says, it's not black versus white, it's wrong versus right. And I think in today's society, more than ever, we should be constantly searching for the truth and making sure that we are making the morality decisions that are right, just, and fair for everybody, not just one particular party or group of people or the people who happen to hold the most stocks or have the most money in the system in the first place. Because the second that we realize that the government's game falls as soon as we stand up and knock over the board, we truly will be in power and have the ability to take back our country, which was so great once upon a time. But this fairy tale and this illusion will eventually disappear if we do not decide to take that red pill, wake up from the matrix, and decide to take a stand against the people who are forcing us to build our own cage. And that is my opinion on this.